This is the Republic. You have to be embarrassed sometimes walking around South Africa and looking at the way that South African society has just deteriorated and fallen apart. What we become under the corrupt ANC.
20 years since the end of apartheid, and violence continues to flare up in South Africa's townships. Many protests are about the lack of basic services like water and electricity, and the lack of government response.
We have to. We don't have a choice. We have to. If ever this government is not ready to listen to us, then violence maybe will make them listen.
About 40% of South Africa's households live in townships, settlements near cities where blacks were forced to live under white minority rule. Now, despite 2 decades of democracy, many South Africans are simply too poor to live elsewhere. Milton Mvalasi shares this one-bedroom dormitory with his family in Soweto, South Africa's biggest township.
An ANC that has let all sorts of new ideas in that are dysfunctional, that are disrespectful, and that are disgusting. Where a country has turned into people that call themselves slay queens. Where someone has taken so many drugs, we've started identifying them by the drug that they take and calling them the Nyaupe boys. This is the sort of country we don't want to live in because traditional institutions have fallen apart. The same institutions that are supposed to, over generations, keep the wisdom of society. The tried and tested solutions, the complex problems are supposed to be fixed by the society because it's kept its traditions, it's kept its institutions. Instead, what we find is that traditional institutions have been pushed to the side. Marriage is a good thing. Establishing social structures provides clear roles, expectations, and moral frameworks that help create social stability and reduce uncertainty. And this is where it is good to raise children in such a society. We are not rigid if we adhere to traditions and social norms. We are not people who are intolerant. Circumstances may have changed, new understandings may have developed, but the underlying fundamentals of how human beings work and what builds a great society has not changed and will never change.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
The institutions of society like family, religious organizations, and community groups are vital because they are support networks, they are social capital for the citizen. Traditions are not there to enforce restrictive gender roles just because. They respect sexual differences because those are real, rooted, biological things. Family norms are a good thing that limit individual behavior and hold people accountable. Self-expression and individual freedoms are not an excuse to act like a degenerate lout. Freedom comes with responsibility. It's not just the freedom to do whatever you want. That's licentiousness. Long-standing, fundamental, societal institutions carry forward cultural heritage, values that help maintain social cohesion and a shared identity across generations, from father to son and to his son after him. We need the sort of institutions that stay with society for a long time, that are proven because they are the structures and the tested methods to resolve conflict, to bring up our children and teach them the culture we have in our schools, and not to infiltrate them with bad ideas.
A recent social media post of a boy wearing a dress to a Cape Town school has once again shone the spotlight on the rights of the LGBTQI+ community.
I identify as a person who's genderless, so I don't experience my identity or who I am through the realm of gender. Sexually, I identify as omnisexual, which is I like everyone, but I tend to like a specific type of gender performance or aspects of gender.
I identify as non-binary and my pronouns are they, them.
Hi Chomi.
Hi friend.
What is your sexual orientation? Thank you. Hi Chomi.
Hi.
What is your sexual orientation?
I'm gay.
Thank you.
Woo.
Hi Chomi.
Hi Chomi.
What is your sexual orientation?
I'm gay.
Hello Kamu.
Hi Mando.
What is your sexual orientation?
I'm gay.
Thank you. Hi Pasca.
Hi Mando.
What is your sexual orientation?
Oh, I'm gay but.
Thank you. Hello Abue. Hello. What is your sexual orientation? Lesbian. Hi, Batabile. What is your sexual orientation? Hello, Mazet. What is your sexual orientation?
Lesbian.
Hello, Stado.
Hi, Manto.
What is your sexual orientation?
Lesbian.
Hi, Karabo. What is your sexual orientation?
Lesbian, lesbian. Sayang.
Hello, Spusi.
Hi, Manto.
What is your sexual orientation?
Lesbian.
Hi, Fufu.
Hello.
What is your sexual orientation?
Oh, I'm a lesbian.
Thank you.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
Societal institutions like the family prevent the decay, disruption, and falling apart like we see when you drive through South Africa today. Because you have the knowledge to contradict those beliefs and to put them down. But if you have no family structure and it's completely falling apart, anything can jump into your home and control your children. The institutions that hold society together create predictable environments for child rearing, for education, for promoting stable development. We keep our children safe in a right mind and allow them to reach their full potential. Traditional institutions aren't there to suppress talent and aspirations, they're there to guide our children. A country without guiding its children, where anybody can do whatever they want, that's the sort of country where you get a nyaupe boy, because there are no fathers.
Mina ngikwazi ukuzijoba, so there must be someone always ozonginceda ngoba mina mangathi ngiyazijoba ngiyahluleka.
Why phone him job entanyeni?
Entanyeni ama-veins ezandleni awasabonakali kahle yabo. So entameni avela quicker entameni. Ezandleni akholapsile vele. Yambona nje esandleni vele. Next. So entameni makakhona ukuthi abamba umoya kahle avela quicker, ama-main vein wasentameni athatha isikhathi ukuthi afe ngendlela esazi ngayo. Kodwa esandleni awasabonakali at all.
Why nimjoba nina? Why angazenzi yena?
Ukuzijova mama entameni kunzima. Bafika aba-professional ngokuthi bazibambe entameni ngespeed. So ukuthi umuntu akubambe, it's much easier and it's much safer ukuthi akubambe yena, because i-risk yokuthi akukhuthe angahlabi ivein, ahlabe eceleni kube miss-shot iless. Yabona ku-dangerous mama, kodwa siphila impilo e-dangerous vele. So
And one of the best institutions to keep a society prosperous is patriarchy, because patriarchy works. Institutions like the family and the patriarchy and good schools that represent the sex differences between human beings are institutions that help preserve and transmit practical knowledge that allow children and people in society to flourish. They give them skills that have proven valuable over generations, as in how to think and what are the best things to think. Not just whatever idea that pops into your head is logical and is good. That's not how reality works, because that's not true. Two men cannot be married. They can be in some sort of a union, but they're not married. If that idea is in your head that this is a marriage, you're wrong. A society that has its institutions in place promotes virtue, duty, honor, responsibility, and allows its people to act and do things for the benefit of not just themselves, but their family and their community. They don't just enforce whatever shameful idea you want to turn into your personality. The long-standing structures of a society are consistent. They last over time. They create continuity. They are good tracks to keep people on track. They eliminate the uncertainty that comes with bogus ideas. Social structures that we can conserve, that we can keep over time, that can keep us consistent, are good for society. They align with what society really is. It is built on hierarchies. A society without hierarchies is no society at all. We can't all be the big boss. We can't all be the Pope. We can't all be in charge. That is the thinking of children and women, and it is not real. Institutions that are kept over time and that keep traditional roles often embody time-tested principles that link with human psychology, human behavior, and social organization. They are true to what a human being is. Become a member of the channel and get exclusive members-only content, courses, articles, audio, and much more. all in one place. We add new materials every single month, and we'd love to have you. Check out the links in the description or in the links for the channel. One of the principal things that was wrong with apartheid is not just the racial discrimination, it's that it was just a bad idea. And I'm not just saying bad and evil, which it was just an idea that doesn't sync with human psychology and with how human beings really work. It was a bad idea implemented at the wrong time in the wrong place. It was never going to last because it's never lasted. It always falls apart because it's an ill-conceived bad idea coming from a wrong-headed individual and person. It tries to break apart what human beings are and what society actually is and how it's built and how humans and societies function and are built. You can't build a society like that in the way the apartheid regime tried to build it. It just doesn't work.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Conservative governments, not fascist governments like the apartheid government. People often say the apartheid government was conservative. No, in one way you could see it like that, but actually what they were fascists. By definition, they meet every letter of that definition. Look it up. A conservative government says, let society develop and change slowly over time. Let people be free and associate with whoever they want, keeping family, religion, the courts, and other institutions intact so that we can carry our society forward, allowing everybody to be economically as productive as they possibly can be, not just giving them rights, but giving them responsibilities to go with it. And out of that, you would have built a great society anyway. You don't need to force people apart. People who want to be apart will be apart. You don't have to force people together. People who want to be together will be together. Apartheid tried to force everyone apart. The new South Africa is trying to force everyone together. Leave everyone alone. If you leave everyone alone and you just keep the underlying societal institutions that keep families together and a society of moral, upstanding, productive people, you will have a society that develops gradually over time into something wonderful and prosperous, and allowing those who want to be together and those who don't not to be, but to learn to live alongside each other with the same underlying fundamentals, because then you can actually build a country together no matter who you are and what you look like and what language you speak.
You know, nothing is more striking than the wide differences in the standard of life of people who live in different parts of the world. Why? Not because of race or religion or culture or natural resources. After all, the Chinese who live in Hong Kong and in Taiwan are of the same race and background as those who live in Red China, yet their standards of living are vastly different. The same thing is true of East Germany and West Germany, of South Korea, North Korea, of Japan before the Meiji Restoration and Japan after the Meiji Restoration. The real explanation are the economic institutions that they adopt. Free private markets versus central planning.
It was a bad idea when the apartheid regime tried to force everyone apart. It's a bad idea that the ANC government has let our country deteriorate at such a point, and they're using very empty, very shallow things to try and pull us together. On one hand, they say, all these other people are racists, so you should hate them. And on the other side, they're saying we should all love each other because we're under the same flag. What the government should do should shut up about all that. They should maintain the fundamentals. Family, led by a father, keeping the fathers intact, not social grants, keeping the schools intact, keeping the country safe, and instituting law and order, and making sure that those who break the law, whether they're jumping over the border or they're stealing or hijacking cars, that they're prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and that we are all subject to the just law of this country and are held up as equals under the law because we are free. If the government of South Africa was interested in doing that, the country would be progressing far better than it is, because right now it is falling apart because they speak out of both sides of their mouth, and most of the time when they're speaking, they're not saying anything about the fundamentals. too many bad economic policies. The government does not protect the border. The South African Defence Force has fallen apart. And that's before I even get to the horrors of children being stolen and drowning in pit latrines, because the whole foundation, the fundamental basics of our society have been deteriorated and have fallen apart. What has happened to the traditional institutions of family, religious organizations, cultural customs, educational institutions, local communities, civic associations, social hierarchies, marriage, and common law? These are the sort of things a conservative government would keep in place because these are the fundamentals. You can build out of a village into a mighty country full of cities and technologies using those institutions alone. You don't need some fancy, wrong-headed, shallow-minded fascist to tell you about apartheid, or some wrong-headed, shallow-minded socialist communist to tell you about how oppressed you are.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
This is South Africa. This is a country of free people. Free people respect the traditional institutions. And if you uphold the traditional institutions, you don't have your kids walking around looking like louts, sounding like louts and whores out there. You have upstanding young people fulfilling their duties to their families, to their schools, to their communities, and ready to launch into a bright future, fulfilling their potential. The streets are littered with low-quality children because the families have fallen apart. The streets could have been filled with high-quality, high-functioning, amazing young people that are going on to do great things. And some of them still will, but that is in spite of what this government has built and has allowed this country to deteriorate and fall apart into. The ANC is not interested in a high-functioning society because a high-functioning society doesn't need their poor and corrupt leadership. Traditional institutions allow us to actually build and have continuity in building. We are always building and always standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. And if we allow society to disintegrate in one generation, we build generations of disintegration. We build a staircase going down into the pit rather than a staircase climbing up to heaven. The past is never dead. It is not even past. That's William Faulkner. You keep those institutions intact, you are always building and moving forward. The traditions and the wisdom built in the past are always in play now. We always use that wisdom now. We always need to call on those structures now because they have to hold. They are the center. They are the foundation. The center has to hold, otherwise the whole thing is lost. And our children walk around in the street looking like the lowest quality individuals you will ever meet in your life. They are the future, and the future looks bleak. And it is all the fault of the adults who have failed to hold the traditional institutions in place, and of this government that has failed to preserve those things. The family structure, religious organizations, cultural customs, educational institutions, local communities, civic associations, social hierarchies, marriage, and common law. If we hold those in place, we have a great country. If we do not, well, you see what's happening. Thank you for listening. If you dare, buy us a coffee. The link is in the description.